you have been touched in multiple ways by Alzheimer's, watching your mother suffer from it, and now you are walking through life dealing with the challenges of it. Can you take us back in your story, back to your 50s, when you started realizing that you were losing your memories? What was that like?
Well, I had a front row seat in Alzheimer's. I lost my maternal grandfather, my mother, my paternal uncle to Alzheimer's, and before my father died, he too was diagnosed with dementia. So I saw the symptoms, and I was raised in an Irish Catholic family of 10. I'm more evangelical now. But my parents moved to Cape Cod, where I live now, and I was the family caregiver, and was with them every day and saw those symptoms. And then I sustained a traumatic head injury. I played a lot of sports in high school and college, but this was a bicycle injury without a helmet. And the doctors said that what it did is unleashed a monster that was brewing inside my brain. I had all of the brain tests and SPECT scans and clinical tests, and doctors came out with a trademark diagnosis of early onset Alzheimer's. And in the beginning, I was in denial. There's a chapter in the book. I wrote a book before the film called On Pluto, Inside the Mind of Alzheimer's. Mark Twain said that denial ain't just a river in Egypt. And but I heard you talk before about thrive, and I think I've learned, as one of the most imperfect guys in the world, that you can't thrive without God. We can persevere, but you can't thrive without God, and that's what's helped me through this.
Wow, that's a powerful statement. So tell us about your faith. When did you start your relationship with Jesus, and how has that strengthened you through this?
Well, that's a good question, and being raised Catholic, it's kind of, you know, they just tell you what to say, and here's what you have to read, and it's rote. When I was my first job as a journalist on Cape Cod, I was in my early 20s and just a regular guy. And after the deadline, we'd go to a bar called the Beachcomber, and it was the typical stuff that kids in the day did. And I remember, and it was right on the beach. And I remember one night being there, and it just didn't feel right to be there. And I just felt called out. And so I drove my car up the road and to the top of this bluff about 75 feet above the ocean. And I stared at the Milky Way. And I just started asking questions. I wasn't sure who I was talking to. And I just said, is this real? And then I felt in my heart, in my soul, not my mind, but I've learned to speak through my soul, that this just didn't happen by chance. And I started asking questions: who's God? Who's Jesus? Who's the Holy Spirit? And I kept feeling I needed to go back. And I was in a conversation with someone. I wasn't really sure. And months later, I'm on the beach, midday, beautiful day in September, and I felt a peace that I had never felt before. And I reached out and I said, God, if that's you, excuse me, if that's you, let me feel you. And the next thing I knew, I was in the sand crying, and I heard in my soul, I am real, and I'm never going to leave you. And so, I committed every sin a man can commit, but I'm walking with God. So, sorry, it's just emotional.
Wow. That's a fantastic story. Thank you for sharing that, Greg. Our program's called Hope Today, and we try to see stories of hope, but everyone's terrified of this disease. To even say the name, people have fear related to that. Where do you find hope, even though you're wrestling with this? What's a day-to-day picture of having hope in God, hope for the future?
Well, I think some of my hope part came out of faith, but also my role as a journalist. And and this is a disease. There's so many stereotypes that take 20 to 25 years to run its course. And I could have another 8 years in this. And God has blessed me with what the doctors at Harvard call cognitive reserve. I can do this interview, but after this, I tell people my brain is like an iPhone, still a sophisticated device, but has a short-term battery, it pocket dials, and gets lost very easily. And I would say that 60% of the time, my memory is gone in 30 seconds. I see things that aren't there. I deal with tremendous rage, and I've learned to overcome it with my faith, and also, you know, you could be in a pity party, but a pity party is a party of one. And I just felt God saying, you need to write about this. And all glory and honor is God, not me. I'm just in the horn section. And I know you're in Pittsburgh. You're big football fans down there. I'm New England Patriots, so don't get mad at me. But I kind of, I
don't know if we can continue, but anyway, no, go ahead.
It's almost like Coach Bill Belichick, do your job. And I want a God who is tough on me, because that's just who I am. And sometimes I feel with God, with looking down at me, he's a little bit of Lurch in the Addams Family, you know, when he goes, ugh. But on the other side, he's Telly Savalas, who loves you, baby. And so it's just, we all find God in different ways.
Yeah, Greg, I just so appreciate your transparency and your openness about what you're walking through and going through. You know, early in the show, I talked about my great-grandmother. She had Alzheimer's, and there was things I didn't understand as a child, and just seeing things and just what happened to the family. And I just want to ask you, you know, what would you say to those who have loved ones that are suffering with the disease? What are the ways that we can be supportive, more supportive, and even understand what you're walking through and what someone who's suffering is going through?
Well, the first thing is to understand that the stereotypes of this disease just aren't true. The best advice I can give someone is a four-letter word. Don't get nervous here. It's LOVE, and show love to your family member. And it's touch. It's just a simple touch, sometimes on the shoulder or a kiss on the head, and don't always correct them. If you're in a room and you're looking at the wall and the wall is blue and someone in Alzheimer's says, what a wonderful red wall. If you start to correct them, they're going to know if they're in early stages that they messed up, and that's going to, you know, that's going to hurt them. Does it matter if a wall is red or blue? No, it doesn't. What matters more is the love that you show, and that's because the person in Alzheimer's really can feel it until the end stage of what's going on.